Hello, everybody, and welcome to our session. We're really pleased that you've chosen to spend the next 45 minutes with our group on a subject that we all feel very attached to. We feel it's critical. We're happy that you also, the fact that you're here, join us in this. Kim?
Okay, I'll share the slides. Yes.
Thanks, Kim. And so the subject is promoting engaged scholarship for sustainability regionally. And you have, as members of the panel today, actually 6 different regional chapters are represented. And we can go back to right. I'm the moderator. My name is Krista Finstad-Million from the France Benelux chapter. Kim Kuhlman, also from the France Benelux chapter, will be presenting our engaged scholarship framework in a very brief way, just to give you an idea of where we're coming from. And we have panelists from, as I mentioned, 6 different regional chapters, starting with Emma Avetesian, who is from the France Benelux chapter, Alan Rosenblum from the North American chapter, Natasha Radcliffe Thomas from the UK and Ireland chapter, Marina Schmitz from the DAC, or the Germany, Austrian, Switzerland chapter, Christina Nisham from the UK and Ireland chapter, and joining us at the end will be Mehran Najati from the Australia and New Zealand chapter, as well as Mikolaj Pidelski from the Central and Eastern European chapter. Now, Kim, if you could explain a little, give us a little bit of an introduction, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, Krista. So we're talking about engaged scholarship. So let me give you a definition first. When we talk about engaged scholarship, we often refer back to Boyer. He's the former president of the American Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching. So what does he say about engaged scholarship? He says it is connecting the rich resources of the university to our most pressing social, civic, and ethical problems, to our children, to our schools, our teachers, and our cities. And he also says that campuses would be viewed by both students and professors not as isolated islands, but as staging grounds for action. Okay, so what does that say? So it's really about continuing to do our research and our teaching as scholars, but framing it more broadly. So framing our work more largely in a societal context, engaging in interdisciplinary conversations, engaging with stakeholders, dialoguing more with society, and being relevant for practice as well. So how do we do that? We can do that through our typical activities, research, teaching, and service, but then in a more engaged way. So engaged scholarship is also said to be a very fitting approach to investigate sustainability issues. Why sustainability issues? Because they're highly complex, they're interdisciplinary, and they require that collaboration between actors. So between interdisciplinary scholars, so scholars among them, let's say, and also more broadly with society, with societal actors. In the management field, we know that we still have some work to do also in trying to successfully address sustainability issues in those 3 functions. Why is that? Because we want to train our future managers to become responsible managers, okay? So that's why that ES approach and that engaged scholarship can also help us. Now, in the management literature, there's an article, a study actually by Tima Bansal and her colleagues, and she talks, or they talk about boundary spanning intermediate organizations, and they say that those are well positioned to bridge that gap between academia and society, so and also be more practice relevant. Now, what do they call boundary spanning organization? It's an organization like the Network for Business Sustainability, which you might know. That is a Canadian organization that brings together scholars and practitioners, uses that ES approach to co-produce knowledge on sustainability. Boundary spanners typically convene, facilitate, and support with the overall aim of bringing those communities together and as we said, to address sustainability issues. We found this particularly interesting, and when I say we, I'm talking about the Prime Chapter France Benelux, because we were really wondering, does the Prime Chapter France Benelux take up this role too of being a boundary spanner, a convener between different business schools or between business schools and other stakeholders? So Krista, Emma, and myself, we wrote a paper about this, which you can see over there. We have the link there, which is going to be published. And in this paper, we provide examples of engaged scholarship in our chapter. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And also experiences of other colleagues in different chapters. So that's all for me. So back to you, Krista.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. So if you can, I guess you can stop sharing the slide and we'll just get back to the panel. It's perfect. Okay, I just want to, thanks so much. I just want to restate the purpose of our session so it's perfectly clear for all those attending. We are going to define and debate the place of engaged scholarship in our schools and of course the challenges it presents for responsible management education practices. We're going to investigate in a very short period through testimonies how our regional chapters are facilitating engaged scholarship and of course this based on their own experiences. We're going to make recommendations at the end. So we're going to be focusing on the role of, as Kim mentioned, boundary spanning organizations, which are prime regional chapters. And we're going to, of course, we wanted an inclusive session. Although we've worked on this question in our regional chapter, we wanted to open up to other regional chapters and get an idea of what is going on out there and bring new insights on board. So with this being said, I will ask Emma Vetisian from our chapter, in fact, to share her testimony. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you, Krista. I will gladly share an example of engaged scholarship in our school, which is Audencia Business School based in Nantes, France. So in 2017, two of my colleagues, Celine Louche and Jennifer Goodman, they designed the Plastic Forum, which is kind of a course and a forum as such, the way we call it. And I was gladly a part of the team later on teaching this, facilitating and animating this course. Let me tell you a few words about what this forum is about. So over a day and a half, our students from different international master programs discovered the concept of CSR by tackling one of the biggest environmental challenges that our society is facing today, called plastic pollution. So on the first half day, our students take on a role of different stakeholders, such as businesses, NGOs, policymakers, to do some research and debate the various perspective, interests, and concerns about plastic. And building from this knowledge, and during the second half day, students are assigned those new groups, and this time they're all put in the position of managers. Those groups represent different types of enterprises, representing different sectors and coming from different countries. They work in teams to collectively develop strategies and create some innovative solutions which are at times feasible, but also implementable, scalable, and impactful, of course, to overcome the plastic pollution and at the same time keep their organizations in business in the face of the new global regulation. So in addition to simulating discussion and creative thinking to solve the challenges presented in class, this course creates awareness of the students' own plastic use and actually empowers them to question the options available to the student community to reduce the environmental impact. And the momentum of this event could actually have a potential of generating action among the student community towards a more reduced plastic school environment. So we chose an experiential learning approach to build this course. We wanted the students to learn through reflection, of doing, but also of interacting with each other. The students are immersed in an event that is actually mimicking a real world challenge. Again, this is the case of plastic pollution. And as future leaders of the world, they have to find solutions to the plastic challenge our planet is facing today. It was key for us to create a particular atmosphere through the use of music, films, dynamics, a space, to bring a story to the course from our world is collapsing to there are possible solutions, and make our students co-creators of what is happening. The structure of the workshop could also be applied to different other topics through some, of course, adaptation of material and contents. About the challenges of engaged scholarship that raise for responsible management education, I think business schools and universities, they need to create more space for conversation and the knowledge sharing on engaged scholarship in their institutions. We really need to make the journey of more collaboration and less competition in developing responsible management education. In terms of the role of our chapter in facilitating engaged scholarship, so France Benelux chapter creates various opportunities to facilitate engaged scholarship on regional level. Particularly during our annual conference meetings, there are dedicated sessions that are directly or indirectly related to various perspectives and levels of engaged scholarship, and where our member schools and universities, they share their own practices, but they're also learning from others. And there are also research opportunities that our chapter is creating for engaged scholarship. So recently with my colleagues, as Kim presented just earlier, Krista and Kim from steering group, we published an article on engaged scholarship and responsible management education, and we plan to submit the second one very shortly.
Thank you so much, Emma, for an inspiring, a very inspiring storytelling. And we'll pass on the floor to Al, please, Al Rosenblum.
Thanks, Krista. To know anything about what we do at the Brennan School of Business at Dominican University, you need to know something about the university mission and vision. Dominican really lives its mission and vision in everything it does, and the mission is to pursue truth, to give compassionate service, and to work toward a more just and humane world. So in the Brennan School, we really take that vision and mission to heart. And as a faculty, we decided that we would engage one particular SDG and try to thread it across the entire, or many courses in the curriculum. We chose SDG 1, no poverty. So as a faculty, we decided that we would take the real global challenge of poverty alleviation, teach it, of course, in macro and micro courses, but then expand it out into other courses such as international marketing, international business, even including the marketing principles course. So students come to engage the issue of poverty through a number of different courses. They then, in the required business ethics course, because Dominican is a church-affiliated institution, we use one of the philosophical lenses as Catholic social teaching. So the preferential treatment for the poor is another way to engage students with the issue of poverty. At the MBA level, students form teams, go out into the community, and then partner as engaged scholars with community and professional groups to solve a community-based problem that's related to poverty. Okay? Engaged scholarship raises a lot of questions in terms of responsible management education. And I think there are many different ways to view this question. We can ask, what does engaged scholarship mean for RME? But I'd like to reverse that question. I'd like to ask, what does PRME have to do with challenging engaged scholarship? As if indeed, if sustainable development, as we've heard, is really a grand challenge, if it requires interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approaches, then as I've experienced it and as I've come to think about it, I think we need to really step back and really think about how we teach and basically what the business curriculum is like. I think for me, in my experience, is I feel somewhat like all the time I'm trying to square a circle, meaning I'm trying to put all these things in the traditional boxes that we have. And I think sustainable development gives us an opportunity to step back and think about how PRME can help inform the entire curriculum. If we think about our pre-COVID world, you know that we typically have conferences and meetings, and the North America chapter is no different. But one thing that the North America chapter did that I think really illustrates engaged scholarship was at one of our conferences, we kind of flipped the tables on ourselves. We became students and went out of the hotel room and into the community. We actually, as delegates, were practicing experiential learning. We went to a really innovative, really creative bakery in New York City called Greystone Bakery that really is a great example of open hiring, giving everyone who wants a job. No interviews, no background checks, no resumes. So this really, I think, captured the imagination of me and all the delegates. And through that community experience, in the best possible way of engaged scholarship, we brought it back into the classroom and closed that circle of linking community, research, and scholarship. Thanks, Krista. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Al. And we listened to your testimony. We also understand that you're very engaged in the work group for fighting against poverty and crime.
I am.
Thanks
Yes.
for your example. Excellent. Natasha, now from the UK and Ireland chapter.
Thank you very much, Krista. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Natasha Radcliffe-Thomas, and I'm a Professor of Marketing and Sustainable Business at Glasgow Caledonian University, and I'm also the Vice Chair of the UK and Ireland Prime Chapter. I wanted to share with you a few examples from our university and also from our local action around engaged scholarship. So Glasgow Caledonian University's mission is we are the university for the common good. And as such, our research and teaching strategies are framed around the SDGs. So it's a natural fit for the curriculum and the research, in fact, to be aligned with this sort of idea of engaged scholarship. And I think the concept of research-informed teaching really helps bring these sort of ideas to life. So a couple of projects that colleagues are involved with are, there's a European-wide project looking at how we can implement sustainable fashion, which obviously relates very strongly with SDG 12 around responsible consumption and production. Also in the area of fashion, one of my colleagues has done a really interesting research project called a Fashion Detox Challenge, really trying to get members of the public engaged with a live research project which helps them reflect on their own feelings around their own fashion consumption. And personally, I'm involved in some attitude behavior gap research around sustainable fashion consumption, actually partially funded by our local chapter. So one of the ways in which our local chapter helps kind of progress engaged scholarship is by providing seed funding for teaching and research projects, which are highlighted at our annual conference, which also offers opportunities for scholars and members of industry and public to come together in discussing sort of the areas around engaged scholarship. Some of the challenges, I think, personally and professionally, are the actual complexity of the issues. And I think these can be rather overwhelming. And so it's really important that we do adopt this sort of intentional interdisciplinary approaches. And I think where we see curriculum specifically aligned and framed around things like the SDGs, it's much easier to find the examples, as friends here on the call are doing. So one example I'd like to share from my own teaching practice is developing a module in sustainable luxury that not only asks students to engage with the challenges of environmental and social justice around luxury production and consumption, but asks them to identify examples of sustainability leadership and align those with their own personal values. And I think when we can bring the personal, the professional, the academic together, that's when we have the most success with engaging with engaged scholarship. Thank you, Krista.
Thank you, Natasha. And we've gone from, you see how we've gone from environmental issues such as plastics to poverty in the community and to sustainable fashion. Very exciting new thematics are being explored thanks to engaged scholarship. Next, we'll have Christina Nisham, also from the Ireland, the UK and Ireland chapter. Christina. Christina, you have to, can we hear you?
Yes.
Great, great.
Thank you so much, Krista. I am Christina Nisham. I'm a reader in business ethics and corporate social responsibility at Newcastle University Business School. And I'm also a director of business ethics and corporate social responsibility in the school. So I am in charge with the ethics, responsibility and sustainability strategy and the principles of responsible management education approaches and their implementation, the implementation of our goals all across the school. And so thank you for inviting me to contribute to this exciting panel. I think one of the main examples of engaged scholarship in our school is the recent student case competition organized by our Systemic Ethics, Responsibility and Sustainability International Network, or SERS for short. The network partners Newcastle University Business School with similar schools worldwide on responsible management education, research and practice. And one of our key strategic objectives is to educate for systemic responsibility. That is, to focus on what it takes to manage global systemic problems such as climate change, racial injustice and gender inequality. So we are seeking to address SDGs 13, 1 and 5. And one key approach we take to attain these objectives is to offer students diverse learning experiences in engaged settings. So this year's SERS student case competition ran over 8 weeks from February to April, mixed teams of MBA students from 3 different schools to include our school as well as Katz School of Business at the University of Pittsburgh in the United States and Lewis Business School at Luis Guido Carli University in Italy. They all met with the Chief Human Resources Officer of KFER Ltd, a global operator in the construction industry, and learned about their concerns and projects regarding gender equality, or more exactly inequality in specialist trades. And guided by mentors from all 3 schools, the student teams researched the issues over 4 weeks, engaged with various practitioner sources in the industry in that process, and produced a concise policy report with solutions and recommendations for executive action. And the reports, together with video recordings of solution presentations, were submitted to a judging panel chaired by KFER executives, and the winning team has been invited to present their solution to the company's board of directors. So the success of this event has stimulated other partner schools and companies to participate in future events, and more students in our school at both undergraduate and postgraduate level were stimulated to engage in mentored research for contributing to the SDGs by addressing real life problems. This is an important focus we have in our school. So importantly, this competition is a festival of learning learning activities where collaboration within mixed teams is the central feature. In terms of the challenges that Engaged Scholarship raises for responsible management education, I think business schools need to impart in their students, who are the future leaders of key industries and sectors of society, the notion of systemic responsibility for economic, social, ecological systems considered holistically. And this would be a linchpin of their leadership philosophies for a healthy economy, society, and planet. And the school's main role is to proliferate opportunities for this engaged, high-impact research that promotes best responsible management education practices understood in a systemic responsibility paradigm. As my colleague Natasha has already mentioned, our regional chapter, the UK and Ireland chapter, facilitates engaged scholarship in many ways. It's very active in stimulating, for example, junior talent. We allocate research grants for responsible management education seed projects that demonstrate high engagement potential. The annual conference will have a doctoral colloquium mentoring this junior talent and motivating them to commit to the field. And we also have an annual essay writing competition that rewards students' research assignments at undergraduate and postgraduate level. And this competition also rewards alternative media-based submissions that demonstrate engagement with a wider range of stakeholders and communities. So I think the chapter is very important in spearheading all of these engaged scholarship activities, and I'm very honored and delighted to be a member of the steering committee in our chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina, from the UK and Ireland chapter, for sharing such deep learning and deep commitment and such a wide array of practices, whether in your school or in the wider region. Thanks so much. Now we have Marina Schmitz from the DAC, so the Germany, Austria, and Switzerland chapter. Really pleased to have you with us today, Marina.
Yeah, thanks, Krista, for inviting me. It's an honor, and I'm really, really impressed by all the other chapters and what you're doing and what you have accomplished. And I would really like to also put a few things on the table that we have been doing as part of DACH, but also what we as CBS International Business School in Cologne in Germany have been doing. So I'm a lecturer and also research associate at CBS International Business School in Cologne, Germany, and more specifically also heading or coordinating activities of our so-called Center for Advanced Sustainable Management there. And our mission at CBS is that we try to kind of sensitize students by integrating sustainability into our curricula. How do we do this? So recently we have been analyzing our current curriculum based on kind of SDG teaching map approach, if I call it that way. So what we have been doing is kind of screening our module descriptions on where we have been already addressing certain aspects that can be related to the SDGs and on which SDGs we're currently still lacking. A little bit more food for thought, what kind of SDGs we're still not addressing in the curriculum. And so that was kind of the starting point for us to reflect on our own activities, teaching activities, learning experiences of our students. In addition to that, we also do work on practical solutions in our business projects. I think that is very useful for students because they act as consultants for companies and other stakeholders who have been recently working also together with our city here in Cologne. So the city also wants to be greener in a sense. They want to address the SDGs on a urban level. So they have been reaching out to us as business school, to our students, and engaging in a dialogue and seeking for help how that could be facilitated. In addition to these business projects and the SEG teaching map that provides some puzzle pieces, what we are also doing, or what is kind of the anchor for all our activities, is that we have the Center for Advanced Sustainable Management that I'm also part of. It was established in 2016, and it sits also at the core of shaping our curricula towards addressing sustainable development, but also fostering more stakeholder collaboration, sensitizing students, faculty, but also administration via, let's say, extracurricular events, trainings, such as our Food for Thought lecture series, where we are inviting guest speakers with provocative ideas and thoughts, so that we can engage in a proactive dialogue here. And what we also do have, or what is helping here, is definitely our CSR student team that I would really like to highlight here. They provide a lot of help and enrich our activities to a certain extent, obviously. Now, what we do in terms of research, or where the teaching and research is combined, is that we do a couple of Erasmus Plus research projects, so the EU-funded Erasmus Plus projects. So we are engaged in 2-3 projects that foster, for example, innovative teaching methods. So we have been establishing something that we call a 21-day challenge on the SDG specifically, or we have been setting up a sustainability escape room in various projects. So we are trying to come up with more innovative teaching approaches and also pedagogical approaches to teach sustainability in a different way and different settings. Beyond that, we are also trying to reach out to our communities, especially in our Cologne or larger Cologne area. We have many SMEs. And so we are providing in another project some training programs for them, especially in the context of circular economy in practice. And beyond that, here leaving the research projects aside, we do also have or try to foster and challenge ourselves on an institutional level. So we have been setting up a eco-ambassador working group. So we have here student members, faculty members, administrative staff, and we have accomplished recently to be certified as climate or carbon neutral, as you would call it nowadays. And beyond that, and beyond other activities that the so-called Eco-Ambassador Working Group is engaging in, we do have set up a diversity and inclusion working group, establishing equal opportunity concepts, code of conducts, but also fostering a kind of awareness through many events. So that is how we define and how we have explored the concept of engaged scholarship in our university. When it comes to the specific challenges of engaged scholarship, what I do believe is that actually the issue or that there is no real trade-off between engaged scholarship or a specific challenge between engaged scholarship and RME. I do see these two strongly intertwined. However, where I do see serious issues is how we currently do staff and evaluate certain achievements of faculty members, professors, and the like, especially those who still want to be tenured. So the current educational system is something that I do still not see well aligned with RME principles overall. I don't know if you would agree with me on that one. Besides increasing third-party funding, publishing a certain number of A journals, B journal articles, whatever, there seems to be a lack of attention given to having an impact with the research that we do, and also on collaborating with respective stakeholders. So there are, at least to my knowledge, not in a larger scale, any rewards have been setting out on a larger scale in universities to reward this kind of behavior. And what we do also see then as a result is that we as scholars, we do usually cut back and try to optimize our time, cut back on, let's say, student consulting, maybe cut back on other projects that are not rewarding in a career sense, let's say. And I do believe that it's nevertheless of utmost importance that we listen and talk to our students. Emma said that also previously. So I would really like to encourage and say that we need to stop teaching and that we need to talk more to our students, talk with our students, and that we need to cooperate more and compete less, like Emma put it in the beginning. So giving more room for interaction and discussion. The last point that I wanted to mention is that how our regional chapter is facilitating engaged scholarship. For example, we have here, on the teaching domain, we do have, for example, Vienna University of Applied Sciences that coordinates the setup of a prime learning platform to enable teaching in SDG related content that we can make it accessible to also all other chapters. Then, for example, a session or a 6-session lecture series on sustainability and corporate responsibility that will be developed by, for example, the IMC University of Applied Sciences in Krems in Austria, where prime partner universities provide 1 session each. For service, for example, what do we have? We are reaching out in terms of partnerships, seeking collaboration with networks like Hoch N Network, that is a conglomerate of German universities that engage in sustainability. And in terms of research, maybe one highlight the Responsible Management and Education conferences that we also explored, especially in the DACH chapter, to seek cross-university research and collaboration. And yeah, with that, I would like to finish and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Marina, for raising making a link between previous testimonies and bringing a new insight from your chapter and from your university. I would now like to call upon Meiren Najati from the Australia and New Zealand chapter. Meiren?
At ECU School of Business and Law, in our Applied Digital Marketing unit, which is a postgraduate class, students develop and work on a digital marketing strategy for a real industry organization. And recently, in a project in partnership with Food Bank, which is the largest hunger relief charity in Australia, the students applied their digital marketing skills in order to develop a successful digital marketing strategy for Food Bank Western Australia. And this is just one example in terms of how we involve students in some of these industry projects in order to make sure that they learn more about sustainability, but at the same time, do something for the SDGs. In this particular case, we had a number of touch points with some SDGs, including SDG 2, Zero Hunger, SDG 10 on Reduce Inequalities, as well as SDG 17, which is Partnership for the Goals. In Australia and New Zealand as a whole, despite being further away from the rest of the globe, I'm pleased to say that there is a good level of collaboration among universities as well as with the industry from time to time. So one in particular was the SDGs Challenge WA, which is a specific initiative we run in Western Australia with a focus on 4 of the SDGs. It involves all of the 4 public universities currently working in WA to come together, collaborate with each other and with industry so that they provide a platform for students to debate and discuss the SDGs, be mentored with the help of industry experts, as well as one expert from academia working together so that they can identify a challenge based on their selected SDGs, come up with a solution for that using the principles of design thinking and co-creation of a solution for the problem, and then pitching that idea to a panel of judges from industry, academia, and then, getting feedback in terms of how that could be implemented.
Thank you very much, Meiren. Thanks so much for joining us, despite all the kilometers that are separating us and the time zones as well. It was really a pleasure to have you. I would now like to call on from the Central and Eastern European chapter, Mikołaj Pindelski. Mick?
Hello, I'm Mikołaj Pindelski. Call me Mick. I represent SGH, Warsaw School of Economics in Poland, in Warsaw. And according to the Engaged Scholarship and what we did is first we implemented as obligatory for all of our students. We have almost 20,000 students. So we're one of the largest business school in this part of Europe. So it is obligatory, the CSR course and the course on sustainable development. So we believe strongly that when the students will catch that concept at the very beginning of their study, being a bachelor, being in the first year of study, and then it will be kind of repeated at the end of master study. So they will be somehow, they will be implemented, that idea in their minds. So they will go to business, they will go to be leaders, they will go to public institutions with sustainable and social responsible way of thinking. So hopefully that will also work in the future. So we create decent leaders, and that's what we think. And this is one of our initiatives that we did recently.
Thank you so much, Mick, for joining us today and completing our panel. I hope you've enjoyed the time you've spent with us, not only enjoyed, but been inspired, have been, apparently you don't even have to take notes. There'll be a recording on this so you can review it. You can contact any one of the panelists that are here today. From one engaged scholar to another, we can only invite further conversations and collaborations. Now, before saying goodbye and wishing you a nice journey, because it's just one session among others in this fabulous Prime Global event, I would just like to recap some of the recommendations we as panelists can make to other chapters and other schools to continue to commit themselves to engaged scholarship. Now, I'd like to just say that one of the recommendations would be to discover CSR concepts and to address global CSR wicked problems by taking on school challenges. We've heard a number of different types of challenges. There are many more out there. To continue in engaging in conversations, more collaboration and less competition, even between us as business schools. We can see numerous events have been taken place thanks to collaboration between not just corporate partners and not just communities, but with other schools as partners. We can move ahead together thanks to collaboration, and we can make a better world thanks to collaboration. This is very important. Not only can we address global issues, but of course local issues. We don't have to look far to find environmental, social, or economic challenges, and engaged scholarship really can make an impact on issues and provide tangible solutions, bringing students and staff and other stakeholders on board. It's very important. We have to rethink and we have to rework the entire curriculum when we're dedicated to CSR and engaged scholarship. We need to foster interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary knowledge, because in essence, that's what the social development goals are, together in a framework. We need to encourage research and teaching through seed funding flow, not only professors, but students also in that. But we need to also recognize that in the evaluation of staff and evaluation of the research impact. That is very important. And we need to continue to map efforts and progress made along the way, and so that we can become catalysts of change. So again, thank you very much so much for the panelists. You can all turn on your micros maybe and say goodbye, and really looking forward to keeping in touch with you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye all, thanks.
Bye.